super excited to be chatting with the two co-founders of Realync. You all have some pretty big news that you shared just recently. Super excited for you all. Before we get into that, just tell us about yourselves, your founding journeys, your path to where you are today.
Yeah, so I'm Matt Weirich, co-founder, CEO of Realync.
Rangarajan, co-founder, COO.
And now, technically, officially not that anymore since we sold Realync to Grace Hill, recently announced, but still fun going through our founder journey and story, because the pain point that we set out to solve literally 10 years ago, actually we're solving it louder, bigger, and better today than any time over the last decade, which is really fun for us to see, because we saw a problem, we set out to solve it, and now we're actually solving it in a big way. And so
there are not many founders that set out to solve a problem and then like a number of years later it's that same problem that they're solving. Like many business pivot along the way. So
it took a while, but it came full circle.
Yeah.
Yep. Never thought a global pandemic would have helped us along that way, but kind of thankful for it.
No kidding, yeah.
But yeah, so it was actually way back in 2011. I was moving from Purdue up to Chicago. Not terribly far, but 2.5 hour drive. And I drove up to Chicago 6 weekends in a row, looked at over 40 different properties in person. At least half of those properties, I knew either driving up to it or within minutes of being there, I wasn't going to live there. And it was just a really frustrating real estate search process, because all I wanted to see was my exact unit, but my only way to do it was to physically show up in person. And this really dates us and sounds really old at this point, because it feels like FaceTime has been around forever, but that was back when FaceTime came out. And that was the original light bulb moment of realizing I would have loved to use something like FaceTime to preview the properties. I could have easily ruled out half the properties, half the trips. Would have been a much more efficient search process. So that was the origin idea. And then Ani and I, he went to Northwestern, I went to Purdue. We both went to Accenture to start our career as management consultants. And as consultants, we were on the road Monday through Thursday for 3 years straight. And the hardest thing we saw our colleagues go through was that real estate search process, because you either had to cram it into your weekends or do it completely sight unseen. And so that can enter your part of the story.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty serendipitous when Matt brought this idea to me, because we were at an Accenture happy hour talking about what's next, and he shared his story and the pain points when he was moving state to state, and I happened to be moving from the suburbs into downtown Chicago. So
At that time,
very different move, obviously local move, but as he was talking about it, it's like, I'm experiencing all of these same pain points, and it really boiled down to me for a lack of time. Like, obviously distance wasn't a barrier, but we were busy working professionals, traveling, all of that, and so I just didn't have a ton of time to book my weekend full of showings, but had the same lack of transparency or deal breakers within minutes of doing these tours. And so that's when light bulbs started to go off. We were talking to other friends and realized that this is not just an issue that both of us experience, just all walks of life, people looking for all different types of home run into this challenge of just a lack of true transparency online. You don't get that full story online, and you feel like you have to go in person to get that. And we just saw a gap, and the classic, there has to be a better way to solve for this using technology and media. So
I feel like the coolest businesses are really founded when you live the problem statement firsthand and then you build to solve for it, right? Versus what is happening a lot right now with like the introduction of AI, which is like you have people trying to like build businesses without a deep understanding of the problem statement.
Yep, spot on.
So tell us more about Realync then. Tell us about the product that you landed, the problem that you solve today for the customers today.
Yeah, so many people see us as a video company, and at the end of the day, what we just talked about, the video is a means to an end. We chose video because we do 360 virtual tours, we do live video, pre-recorded video, we do all sorts of media, but video has always been our primary means of instilling that trust and that transparency into a space online, no matter what that space is. And the powerful thing about video, we actually led with DIY video and equipping the on-site teams to do the videos themselves, because no one's going to know what their audience is looking for better than them. And so that's what we built. We built a platform to equip and train and enable site teams to use video, both live and pre-recorded, create the content in a very easy, dynamic, cloud-based, built for enterprise, built for multifamily way. And then we can go to work with them to get it where it needs to go, get it onto their website, onto the ILSs, integrate it into their communication tools, and really take it from there. Layer on all the data and analytics that they need. If I send you 3 Realync videos, I'll get notifications in real time telling me what video you're watching, when, how many times. I know in the content itself what room you dropped off the video in, and all sorts of really unique data. And so what started as video to be able to showcase a space has really evolved into much more because of the behaviors in our industry and the data that we can pull out of it and how we can integrate. A lot of our clients are now, they taught us that, hey, we want to use video for maintenance. And so they're now using Realync for maintenance tutorials and how-tos. And so,
yeah, I think that part of our journey has been one of the most gratifying. Is when we set out to build this, it was for that marketing and leasing use case primarily, of seeing the exact unit in a real way. But as Matt said, now we have teams that solely use Realync on the resident experience side.
Interesting.
And it's really just a form of communication at that point, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays, we're all just consuming so much short format content, almost subconsciously.
We're recording it.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's really an extension of that. And people, renters don't want to read these long emails, text-based from their property manager anymore. So if they can send that as a 30-second message on Realync, that just gets way more engagement.
Super cool. Okay, so we at Revise noticed a flurry of activity on your product listing. Like, we watch all of the trends and the data, and anecdotally, we had a number of growth equity companies and VCs that we see searching the platform and looking at reviews. You all have stellar reviews. How did you know that it was time to sell? There's a lot of founders in here. You just completed what every founder dreams of. How did you know that it was time?
So back in 2020, we actually did a private equity deal, and we brought on Susquehanna Growth Equity as a private equity partner in the business. They bought out all of our prior investors up to that point, and it was just us and them. And we did that in 2020 because we grew substantially in 2020.
Was that pre-pandemic?
That was fall of 2020, so it was during the pandemic. Yep. And that all came about because we were growing so much in an environment where other companies most certainly were not. And so we actually had a lot of people knocking on our door interested in buying the business then. Yep. And we weren't ready to get out. And we actually didn't even know what to expect with private equity back then, but super thankful and grateful that we did that. They were a phenomenal partner for the business over the last 3.5, 4 years. 4 years, yeah. And they helped us shape and grow and focus on the right things. And private equity's model is typically a 3 to 5 year investment window, and we knew that, they knew that, and timing-wise, 2024 has been a great year for the business. A lot of things are just clicking, and the business is in a great, healthy place, and so decided to see what it looked like. Not a great M&A market out there right now, but we've known Grace Hill for a long time, and super thankful for the partnership and the acquisition and what we were able to do there.
And one thing to add to that too is, for us as founders, we've always wanted to have a strategic outcome and exit for the business. And being at it for a decade now, we want to see Realync just grow and exponentiate as much as possible in our industry. And so that was another big reason for us when Grace Hill, expressed interest. So hey, you have 10 million units, way more for us to cross-sell into and just help the industry much faster. So that's always been a big thing for us that helped put us over the edge in that decision making. Yeah. Super cool.
Yeah. We'll come back to Grace Hill in just a moment because we're big fans of the team there as well. So we'll talk all about that in a minute. But for now, I want to compliment you guys. We spend a lot of time talking about go-to-market in this industry specifically, and there are very few companies that I feel like have just nailed go-to-market. And you all just did such a great job. You had such great content. You had Jordan on the partnership side, you had Christy at every single trade show, you had Ashley doing just a wonderful job with all the content behind the scenes, and I'm sure many more. But just tell us about your approach, your philosophy as it came to go to market in this industry.
Honestly, it boils down to one thing. We keep it real, and that's
exactly what I was going to say.
I figured. That's why I looked at you. I knew we were on the same page there. That's what we always built as the core belief of Realync, is that real is what life is all about. And so we never held any pretenses. We never tried to have any facades. We just always, we tell it how it is. And every single person that we've hired and brought onto the team has really just clung to that ideal and that belief. And thankfully, I mean, it's just blossomed to so much than just us. And like we have hired such incredible people that we don't have to worry about that stuff. Like you said, Christy, Ashley, Jordan, they're all doing their thing and killing it. And we have so much trust in them that we don't have to be involved in that. Like the content, great. I couldn't tell you what's going to be posted or done next week, and I don't need to know because I know it's going to be phenomenal. And so it really just boils down to like just being real. And the bigger thing for us is we don't want to talk about Realync. We want to talk about our clients using Realync, because that's always going to be more of a connection anyways. And thankfully, as you guys have seen through our reviews on Revise and things like that, we have such a great relationship with our clients, and that's always a priority for us, is being a good partner to everyone we work with.
That really shows. It shows in all of your reviews, and there's plenty of them. So, okay, let's talk about Grace Hill. So I've met a few of the team there. Wonderful people. I had no idea they had 10 million units on the platform. That's a huge number. What's next? Like, what's next for you all? What's next for Grace Hill? Obviously a lot of cross-sell opportunity there, but tell us about kind of the 1 + 1 = 3, which is, the lens through which you look at an acquisition like this. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, multiple tentacles to that. So one, Grace Hill was interested in talking to us about this potential opportunity because we as a company now want to really expand into that top of funnel marketing leasing space. As we know, they've been a leader in training, LMS, policy, mystery shops, all of that world for a while, but they're really at an inflection point as a business as well. And that was one point of intrigue, was, hey, Realync does amazing stuff in this top of funnel space and the conversion rates that we're able to drive and all that. So near term, that's going to continue to be a focus, is us doing what we do and selling Realync and continuing to get that in the hands of more of the industry. But we also saw some interesting synergy opportunities there. I was actually in Dallas at Grace Hill's headquarters last week, starting to have this product exploratory conversation around how can video impact mystery shops, how can self-generated video impact training content. So all of these different areas that, again, it's super early stage still, so we don't have anything concrete to share, but there's definitely more than our core business that we're interested in. So
you're better about not sharing. I would have probably divulged too much, but there's some really cool things in the works, especially off of our live virtual tours and just the data that we're collecting off of that, and how that leasing agent performance data can feed into learning management and making training reactive to actual employee performance and things like that. So there are some really cool things that actually have us really, really excited about where we're going together with Grace Hill.
Super interesting and very exciting. So, okay, 10-year journey, entrepreneurs, you did the inevitable, right? You did the impossible. What advice would you give yourself as founders going back 10 years in time? Like you starting from zero again, like what advice would you give other founders in this hall?
Do we have another 2 hours? We have just a lot.
Our story is definitely a story of perseverance. I mean, there were many times we could have, should have, and had many people telling us to quit, and we just wouldn't. There was always something giving us that glimmer of hope to keep going. And I think if I didn't have Ani next to me, I would have quit. And that's one of the powerful things I'll tell every budding entrepreneur is find someone you can trust to be by your side to it, because on the days I was ready to quit, he wasn't, and he kept me going. On the days he was ready to quit, I wasn't, and I kept him going. So that's a big one for me, is find the right people and find them early, because it can literally be make or break in the journey.
One thing I'd add is, I think one of our biggest learnings is true product market fit, and racing to that with as much laser focus as you can have, especially in the early days. Because when we started Realync, we knew we had an idea for the real estate space, and we were dabbling in commercial real estate, single-family residential, running pilots left and right. And I think as an early founder, it's easy to, if someone expresses interest, it's easy to just kind of get distracted and say, hey, let's talk and let's get this rolling. But while we were doing that, we were spreading ourselves thin and not truly validating that market fit. And I think it was OpTech, 2016 or 2017 that we pitched on stage, and it really just slapped us in the face and was like, multifamily is where we can add even more value in the ecosystem. And once we really focused in on that, everything changed for us. And so I think, sometimes VC is all about the big market size and TAM and all of that, but it can help to just focus in. And even if that TAM looks smaller, you're focused and you're able to accelerate and you're able to add value faster. And that's ultimately going to help you in the trajectory of your business. So I think that was big for us, is just honing in on multifamily within real estate, knowing that there are bigger opportunities in the future.
And it took us way too long to get there, but we got there. Yeah.
You just touched on Optech. Optech was a great launching pad for us as well. We did the opening pitch last year. We walked away with the customer from that, and we've grown since there as well. This has got to be your 5th, 6th, 7th Optech probably. Just tell us your thoughts on the show in general.
I think this is number 8.
Number 8, yeah.
We love it. We always come, and being so tech focused, we always felt that this was our place. Yeah. And I think, I don't know what the stat was, but something like 53% of registrants are vendors this year, which I saw a post on LinkedIn about, hey, maybe it's time to start sessions and content specifically for vendors, since there's so many of us here. We also are here to learn from our clients, learn from the industry, learn from each other. And I think that's something that's been really powerful about Optech, is we come and we have meetings, not just with clients, we meet with the other providers in the space, and there's so much learning in that. We love this one for sure, and it just feels kind of back to our point about find your product market fit and focus. From a conference standpoint, we've always felt this one has had the most focus and intentionality around it.
The folks that are coming here want to talk technology. They want to push the envelope with innovation for their companies. And so, obviously it makes conversations around supplier partners like Realync easier to have here. And again, great decision makers are getting in front of the right people. I also think there's a time of year thing to it. Yes, it's a little late in budget season, but it also is in the time of year where people are thinking about goals for the next year and bigger, strategic vision. And I think it's just a good time to speak into that. So
very cool. You guys, congratulations. Well done. You just built a huge business. Congratulations to the Grace Hill team as well, that acquired a wonderful group of humans. We're all stoked for you.
Thank you so much. Congrats to you. Thank you.
Appreciate it.